Hi, everyone. As Robert said, my name is Anton Kowalski. I'm a writer for DSP. Today, I will be introducing you to using Jupyter Notebooks inside of Terra. I'm going to talk for about 10 or 15 minutes, towards the end of which we'll actually clone a workspace and start up our cluster, and then we'll take a 10-minute break. And when we come back at 10:40, we'll have an actual hands-on demonstration. So you'll actually click through and play with some of the buttons in the Jupyter Notebook. So the agenda for my session is basically to give everyone an idea both of how to use the notebooks, but also to give everyone a context of where the notebooks are inside of the platform and how they kind of interact with the cloud. So that'll give you an idea of why it's so convenient and powerful to have this portal where you can basically do all of the parts of bioinformatics on the cloud all inside of this platform. So by the end of the session, hopefully you will have a good understanding of these questions that are specifically about how Jupyter Notebooks fit inside of Terra, so you'll understand the different ways that you can access notebooks that live inside of Terra workspaces. You will understand how to control the type of kernel that you're running off of and which types of kernels are available, how to, for instance, work in a terminal through the Terra portal that actually accesses your cluster, and also how to share the notebooks and all the things that go along with that, since sharing is kind of one of the central aspects of what's so great about Terra. So in order to understand this idea, this concept of a Jupyter Notebook existing inside of a Terra workspace, we should start by looking at an example of what's contained inside of a Terra workspace. And in many ways, these Terra workshops are one of the central principles that we're trying to convey to everyone is what a workspace is. A workspace in Terra you should think of as basically a digital laboratory. So whereas a physical laboratory is very cumbersome to build and maintain because you have to keep track of everything, everything has to be organized, you have to be constantly keeping up with who has access to what. In the case of a digital library, what's so great about it is that you can share access automatically with anyone. And as you'll see, the most convenient part of it is that you can clone it as many times as you want. So anytime you see an environment that you're interested in playing around in, but you're worried that you might break it, all you have to do is clone yourself a copy, and you can do whatever you want in your own copy. And then if you end up doing something that you want to share, then you can share your own copy. So this, the contents of this slide represent the contents of an example workspace. So for example, let's imagine a workspace in which we have our raw data, so it's exome sequence data, and the Terra workspace actually provides you with the ability to upload this into a Google bucket. So that's step one of the process that you can do inside of Terra. Let's say that you then wanted to do some of the processing that we all know is very important. So you need to align your sequences, then you need to, whatever other types of steps are necessary for that particular project. You will be able to do that also through Terra. There are whittles actually contained within the workspaces. Once you have done all of the processing, so any alignment, any variant calling, any type of additional filtering, at that point you have data that's ready for some sort of clustering analysis, for example. And conveniently, inside of the Terra workspace, you can actually interact with the data directly using a Jupyter Notebook, which is what we'll learn about. And in addition to that, there are all these amazing sharing capabilities that Terra provides, both internally within a laboratory, so you can work with your own colleagues or with collaborators outside of your laboratory, but also it provides a very nice way of sharing published results. So you can actually publish basically the URL to the workspace that you want to present to the world, and then others can come and see how you actually got your results. So this is kind of an example workspace. Here's a slightly more high-level view so that we can understand where exactly the Jupyter Notebook lives with respect to both the workspace and the cloud. So up there is us. We're the users, and we have direct access to this portal. So we have this box to indicate the workspace. And inside of the workspace, we have, broadly speaking, two different things. We have the analyses, the workflow analyses, which you can launch, and you'll learn much more about that towards the end of the day. But so once you launch a workflow analysis that has some data attached to it, has some workflow development language instructions, and whatever tools might be necessary inside the Docker, once those get launched, that tells our Cromwell engine and the Google API to basically figure out how to run this computation as efficiently as possible on a virtual machine created specifically for your job inside of the cloud. So by contrast, the Jupyter Notebook does effectively the same thing, but you can interact directly with your code. So you can either interact with a workflow, or you can spin up a cluster, aka a virtual machine, just for your Jupyter Notebook. It's attached to its own workspace storage, and so you'll be able to do all sorts of things just inside of the Jupyter Notebook, which is specifically accessing your virtual machine. And that's great because the virtual machine is so elastic in terms of its computational abilities. So it's not quite like launching a Jupyter Notebook on your desktop, which you can. Probably lots of people here have done that. That's a Jupyter Notebook that's working off of your computer's computational abilities, whatever those may be. Whereas here, we have a way for you to run a Jupyter Notebook off of a virtual machine that could be any size. So with that, I'm going to have everyone move over to I'm going to have everyone move over to Terra, and we'll actually clone a workspace and start our notebook. The reason we're going to start the notebook before the break and then come back and use it after the break is because the spinning up of a notebook cluster is the one thing that may take a little bit of time. So once the notebook cluster is running, then you just click, and as soon as you click run, then that cell will run as quickly as it can on whatever computational resources you've allocated for it. But when you are first opening a notebook before you have generated the cluster, it may take between like 10 and 15 minutes for Terra to communicate with the cloud and spin up the virtual machine to the exact specifications, because you spin it up to those specifications every time. So ultimately, it's very nice. But there is this one little bit of downtime that sometimes you need to take into account. So here's the landing page for Terra. Hopefully everyone has already registered and can sign in. Up in the top left is the button we call the hamburger menu. If you press that, then you will see all the different places that you can go to within the Terra user interface. I won't go into them too much in this session. So for now, let's just go to your workspaces and type in, oh yes, and
Can you make the size bigger? Zoom in. It's hard to see.
how do I make the size bigger in this? Wait, control. That's so bizarre.
You should be able to just command plus and zoom in on the browser window.
I'm not in it, but I'm in presentation mode, is the issue. So I can just get out of presentation mode. No, I don't know. I can't zoom in right now for some reason.
Okay, I'll look
Can
at it
everyone,
over the break.
can everyone kind of see on the board? Or? Okay, good. So if you go to your workspaces, you'll see I have lots and lots of workspaces. If you've already registered, you should still be able to see public workspaces. So if you type in just the word hands, you should be able to see this Terra BigQuery hands-on. So, oh, I'm sorry, do I not have, oh, I'm sorry, yeah. I don't have to have it clicked, but you guys do. So yes, click on Show Public Workspaces, and then find this one. Really quickly, I'll just say that you can go into the workspace itself. However, that might not be useful if you don't have writer privileges, because then you won't necessarily be able to edit anything in there. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to clone our own version. So you're going to click up on this three-dot menu and click Clone. You can also do it from this three-dot button, just the same. And so at this stage, you should have a billing project. And
So some of you are getting messages to set up billing. If you have a green banner at the top that says start your free trial, click that button, you'll get a billing account. If you have an orange banner that says your free credits have expired, or if you don't have a banner at all and you've used FireCloud before, raise your hand, someone will come around and help you get set up in a billing account. So we're gonna take maybe 5 minutes to do this.
okay, so I'm going to just clone a fresh copy for myself. This is how I always do it, underscore with my initials. Clone workspace. And there we go. Now you can see that I am inside of my cloned workspace. Copy says AK.
Okay, so what we just did was clone a public workspace so that you now have access to everything, to edit it, to run it, and Anton will walk you through that in a second. But I just wanted to tell you what we did with that billing project. So everything in Terra, there's no cost to use Terra, but there is cost to use Google's resources. So in order to do that, you have to be tied to a billing account. Many of you are new users, so you had free credits that you were able to use. Those free credits will expire in 60 days, or if you use, I think it's $300, whichever comes first. So that's to get you started. For those of you whose free credits have expired, or you have been using the platform for a while, we added you to a billing project called Workshop-Temp. It's a billing project that goes on our budget so that you guys can run everything we're going to run today. We're not going to be running exorbitant costs. I think it's like 2 cents for a workflow later and maybe like $1 for the notebooks overall. So that's why we needed to add you to this Workshop-Temp billing project. About a week after the workshop, we're going to be removing you from that. You'll still have access to your workspace, you just won't be able to run stuff. If you need to get that transferred over to maybe your labs billing project, we have a forum and people that can help you get that transitioned over. So yeah, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out there. And without further ado, Anton, go ahead.
So we have one last thing to do. So in 10 seconds, we'll go ahead and take our 10-minute break. So here we are inside of our cloned workspace. So I'll just have everyone go ahead and open their R environment setup notebook. So just double click on it or click on the 3 dots and click open. And you'll see.
How do you get the multiple choices there? There was a screen is blank and it says about the workspace.
I'm sorry? I'll maybe.
This screen had 4 or 5 things there. How do you get to that?
Had 4 or 5 options here, you mean?
So you've got those 4 things, hard, read, data.
Yes? So yeah, this is the part that's going to take, it says may take up to 2 minutes, so that's maybe a little optimistic right now. You'll notice that it does generate a read-only copy of the notebook for you to look through while the cluster is spinning up, and that's just kind of a convenience. It used to be that you would just see a blank page like this while the cluster was spinning up, and so you would wait 10 or 15 minutes and realize that you opened the wrong notebook. Oh darn.
Should we be clicking on create cluster to edit?
Yeah, yes.
On the top? Okay.
Yes, if it asks you for that option, then yes. If it prompts you for that.